later that night, your husband drives you, 2008, to this prison, and you get dropped off, and you walk in, and they take you to a cell, and the door shuts. What are you thinking?
Like, how did this happen? How in the world is my worst nightmare actually happening?
You've gone from $80,000 a race.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is per inch, but it's a lot, right? And then suddenly you're in this tiny cell. You're a felon.
Well, I think to put things in perspective, when I was a child, I used to always want so bad for my name to be written in the paper. For my accomplishments, of course. And my reality now is sometimes I don't want it written in the paper, and sometimes it's tough being a celebrity. Because when I walked into prison, unlike most people that go to prison, I'll tell you because I don't think you have any history of that, most people go unknown. I walked in and everybody knew who I was. There were helicopters circling. There were photographers trying to jump the fence to get that picture. I walked past the TV room where the inmates watch television and my story is being played. I was there for almost 6 months, and there were nights that were extremely hard, missing my family
your kids
and
went
everything.
to stay with your family in Barbados.
Correct.
So they were protected in a sense, I guess.
Yes.
But you weren't. I mean, you're on your own there.
Right, and I think some of these women would come up and they had been in there 10, 15 years and hadn't had a visit, a letter from a family member. And so at night when I would cry, I'd just be in this deep, deep place. I'd say, you know what, Marion, why are you acting like this when the woman down the hall has been here over a decade and she has no family that's interested in her? If she can wake up every day with this sense of hope and faith, I can certainly do it.
Do you think you hadn't taken any enhancing, would you have still won the golds? Because that must be the greatest frustration for you. Because you would still have been a supreme athlete.
It is.
And you were so way far ahead of everybody else. You didn't need to do this.
From early on, from the age of 14 is when I made my first Olympic team. And to me, the biggest issue was not asking certain questions and not asking the coach, well, what are you giving me? Why all this? You know, I certainly felt, and will feel to this day that my God-given ability would have
Can I
taken me.
play devil's advocate with you?
Sure.
Because I watched the Oprah interview when you came out, and just the one jarring note with me was you appear to be in some slight denial about ever knowing anything might be slightly dodgy. And I don't think people bought that. I think they thought, come on, Marion, you knew, even if you weren't asking questions, you knew enough about what was going on. Your husband at the time was, he was caught. Everyone was getting, you knew something was going on. Was it more a case of, I'm not going to ask any questions here, but in the back of my head, this is a dangerous situation I'm in? Is that the honest truth?
No, I'm not going to agree with you in that regard. I think that because I know I had, people would say, well, you had to have known something was going on because you were just beating people by so much. You were just annihilating people. But to me, that's what I've been doing ever since I was young. Nothing happened during that time to tell me that I had been given something that was going to make me that much better. You know, when I was sentenced, the judge said certain things during the 2-hour proceeding, saying that a top caliber athlete has to know certain changes in their body. And I had to sit there, of course, and I had to listen. But the reality in my world and in my life was I didn't see any changes. I didn't see any changes that would have alerted me to certain things. And yeah, I should have asked more questions, but I trusted my circle. You know, I surrounded myself with, I was in this bubble, and I felt in my heart, you know, these people, they're not going to do anything to harm me.
The president of the International Association of Athletics Federations said in a statement, Marion Jones will be remembered as one of the biggest frauds in sporting history. I mean, that was an incredibly harsh thing for him to say, but many people agree with him at the time. He was forced to hand back the medals. That moment when you hand back the medals and you hear this guy say that about you, and that is how you're being branded to America, how did that make you feel?
I didn't. It was tough to hand back the medal, certainly. But I think that a lot of people overestimate the hardware, I'll be honest. To me, it's the memory.
When the Olympics starts this summer, how will your emotions be dealing with that? I mean, are you able to deal with it in a measured way now, or you still get that awful sense of what might have been?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have good memories from my Olympic experience, and I'm a fan of sport. I have a passion for sport. I sit in front of the television with my kids. We cheer on. We have our favorites. It's not a time that it's a somber time for me.
And so any young American athlete who is in the squad, who may be either abusing drugs, or keeping it secret, or is tempted to, or believes it's the only way they can win a gold medal, there's nobody better to ask. What advice would you give them?
First of all, think about the consequences of your choices. Before they make those type of decisions, take a step back and develop this message of take a break. Take a break.
I was going to ask you about that, finally, because this is something you're very involved with, and it's educating young kids, I guess, who may get a break about how to take it.
Yeah. Well, and the big part is that, and it's not just young people, anybody, you see all the time in the news, CEOs of companies who make a wrong choice. And if they had just taken a break, if they had just taken a step back and thought about all of this, got proper advice from people who will give it to them straight, not people who just pat them on the back, if they just take a break and really think about the consequences of their choices, then they'll be able to make better choices in their own lives.
Fortunately, Marion, I've never made a mistake in my life, so this clearly doesn't apply to me. Right. But it's been fascinating talking to you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
In the weeks leading up to the Olympics, I'll interview some of the top members of